This is the one many have named Mother Mary, the Mother of Jesus the Christ. Unless you become still, you may not know your joy, which does not arise from the mind, but from beyond it. Unless you move beyond your mind, you will experience the joy at your core only very briefly and faintly. To experience this joy requires making space for it, empty space, free from thought. In this space, it is possible, indeed probable, that you will experience who you really are. In between each and every thought is a space, and that is where freedom lies, in experiencing this space. How simple it is to experience it. Anyone can do it. And yet, staying in that experience of space can be so hard. Are you able to experience that space and the sense of spaciousness that comes from that for a moment? What is this space like? Is peace there? Is love there? Are clarity and wisdom there? Is strength there? Courage, patience, compassion. Yes, all of the qualities of your divine nature are there. That is where they have always been, and where they can always be found again when you need them. All you have to do is give your attention to the space in between your thoughts, instead of to your thoughts. But that attention must be given for more than a second, or the qualities of your true nature will fade quickly from your awareness, as thoughts and the experience that thought creates take over. What is the experience of thought like? Does it make you more peaceful, more loving, more courageous, more compassionate? Possibly, but usually not. More likely, thought causes tension, because underlying so much of it is the sense of not being or having enough. Thought so often results in the feeling of having a problem or needing to work harder, strive harder, try harder. Thought causes your energy to move outward. Much of the time, thought drives you to act. Putting your attention on the space in between thoughts, on the other hand, feels very different. When you do this, you feel spacious, expanded, quiet, content, and receptive to life. And yet this spaciousness does not make you passive, as wise action naturally flows from it. In this space, motivation is not lacking. Rather, this space is the source of true motivation. Action that comes out of spaciousness is propelled by joy, by a sense of purpose that feels expansive and right, rather than driven by fear or a sense of lack. Action inspired by your depths embraces life joyfully, gratefully, and excitedly. Once you are convinced that this space has value, you'll begin to give it more attention. Nevertheless, the mind will try to pull you out of this state of peace and contentment. To stay for longer periods of time and eventually to live from this space requires commitment and diligence. The ego's tendency to run from stillness and peace has to be overcome. It runs from the spaciousness because the ego's viability and power depend on you not going into the space. Because if you do, you will not be the same. The you that is created by the mind cannot be sustained in this space. It disappears, and what you're left with is a feeling of spaciousness. When the me disappears, you become aware of who you really are, which is not a thing and is therefore experienced as nothing or space. Without thoughts about yourself, there is no egoic self, no false self. What makes this self false is that it's solely created by ideas about yourself, and false ideas at that. When such thoughts stop or are no longer given attention, the false sense of self ceases. Then you're left with space, with the experience of who you really are. Indeed, you're not a thing, not a body, not a mind, and not a personality, but pure consciousness. When thought is no longer controlling your attention, you experience that which is beyond thought and beyond the false self that is created by thought. You experience who you really are. What you discover is very wonderful. You are peace, compassion, love, wisdom, clarity, strength, courage, patience, and every other virtue. You are all that is good. What if it were otherwise? The nightmare you've been living is that you are bad, not good enough, flawed, and incomplete. Fortunately, none of that is true. This sense of yourself has been manufactured by the egoic mind, and it is false. When the mind is quiet, you are left with the truth. You are complete goodness and love, like that which created you. This is the happy ending that everyone longs for. The most wonderful discovery possible occurs at the end of your spiritual journey. You realize that you are divine, and so is everyone else. The way to arrive at this destination is to be still. Choosing to be still is a powerful choice, for without it, the understanding of who you are will be merely an intellectual one, not a living realization. The only way to realize your true nature is to move out of the intellect and into the experience of your true nature. You do this by being still. The teaching could just as well be just be. This phrase points to a state of being in which there's no subject, no I, and no further definition, no adjectives to describe that state of being. How you get to this state is by being still. Achieving this state is the goal of spiritual practices. Spiritual practices train you to be still, to be quiet inside, so that you can experience your true nature. Being still is not natural to human beings because you have an ego. To get out of the prison created by the ego, it is necessary to do what the ego has been steering you away from all of your life. Be still. Being still is about cultivating a quieter mind. Keeping the body still and slowing down the breath are part of most spiritual practices because a relaxed body makes quieting the mind easier. Taking time to just sit and do nothing is central to experiencing inner stillness and sets the stage for the important practice of meditation. There's nothing like meditation to quiet the mind. Although you'll never completely quiet the mind as long as you are human, meditation gives you a fighting chance against the momentum and compelling nature of thought. A regular practice of meditation makes detaching from your thoughts easier, because meditation turns the volume down on your thoughts, so that you can better attune to what is real and disregard what is false thought. Consciousness is always experiencing. Often it's lost in thought and the experience created by thought, like being lost in a movie in which you're the central character. Consciousness gets lost in the imaginary world of your mind. When consciousness is not lost in thought, it's attending to the sensory experience in the here and now, and to more subtle input, such as intuitions or feelings of gratitude or peace. When you're not being run by the imaginary world of your mind, Actions naturally flow in response to sensory and other subtle input, much of which is overlooked when the focus is primarily on the egoic mind. When you are attuned to the here and now, you might find yourself responding to an intuition, a creative idea, a loving feeling, an urge to act, or an inspiration. Responding to such things is intrinsically rewarding because they arise from a deep, true place within your being, one untainted by self-interest, fear, or a sense of lack. Attuning to stillness leads to living a life in a new, more fulfilling way, to action that is not centered around me, my life, and my needs, but action that naturally flows from the joy of just being. You experience yourself as a flow of being, rather than someone who is this or that, or who needs this or that, or who wants this or that. You just are, and who knows what you'll do next and where that will lead, and you don't need to know. This is a frightening prospect to the ego. The ego doesn't want a life like that. Maybe this is how you feel as well. Words cannot adequately describe what the life of a butterfly is like. But if you were to experience it, you would know the rightness of living in such a way, and you would not return to being a caterpillar. The proof of the goodness and rightness of this direction, away from a life determined by the egoic mind and toward one governed by stillness or joy, is that people do not return to the old way of the caterpillar once they know freedom and joy, if they can help it. Freedom may be scary to the ego, but it is inarguably preferable. Moreover, it is your destiny. To become still is a matter of learning to listen to something other than your thoughts. To listen means to be receptive to. You listen to life, to what is here and now. Cultivating stillness is a matter of being receptive to what is real and true here and now. What is being experienced now? Without placing any evaluations or judgments on it, you simply experience what's arising in the here and now. Drink it in or let it pass through as it may. Noticing what is, touching it gently with your awareness, without clinging or pushing it away, is the way of stillness. This is also a description of meditation. To be still is to just be. Be and experience what is here right now. You are the experience of right now. This experience might include thoughts and feelings, but when you're grounded in stillness, your experience of life is not overshadowed by the imaginary world of the mind. Thoughts and feelings are noticed, appreciated for what they are, embraced, blessed, and kissed goodbye. Everything passes in its own time. When you're still, you let everything come and everything go in its own time. You just be and let it all be as it is. Thank you for your attention. I am at your service.